This is JTQ9 of SSX-1, and welcome back to the channel. Against X-K9 this war, we're a very formidable opponent, as you'll see later on. But to start things off, we just wanted to go through a couple of synergies that are going to make my nuke weapon available. So Nebula paired with Gully, it was kind of the most important part of her synergy, is that she gains 70% of a bar of power. Basically, each time an immunity prevents a bleed or a poison effect. So essentially, with an APB, you're starting the fight with 1.7 bars of power. Furthermore, when paired with Proxima, Nebula also starts the fight with 10 electroshock charges, which clearly makes it much easier to get to the 20 charges. So throwing that SP2 after laying the shocks on with a parry to double the shock effects on the opponent is simply very rewarding as we watch the opponent melt. So one of the big hiccups I had in the first 3 fights, fortunately didn't cost me, as it could be very costly in a tier 1 war, is that because the masteries were free, I was kind of switching back and forth between different things. I put suicides on for this, but I accidentally forgot to put the dexterity back on. For whatever reason, I had it off. So as you can see, that's not triggering anytime I do end up going back, and I get very lucky, pinned against the wall at a certain point as I'm trying to land my heavy after they throw the heavy to put that initial shock on right here. And then fortunately from here, it's a simple parry, get the 20 shocks on, and then land the SP2 to double it, and they will melt away. So with those suicides, you get a huge advantage starting off, like I said, with that 1.7 bars of power. Only disadvantages, you have the recoil mastery on, which means you're going to be losing health every time you throw a special. So unfortunately, even though you take no damage, you end up having to use a potion or something to revive, to heal up that little bit, because again, that little bit of health that you're putting back on could save you at the end of a fight should something go wrong. Anyways, on this one here, Colossus, very straightforward fight. Again, same kind of strategy for our nuke strategy. Get to the 20, throw the parry, and then the SP2, and the fight is over. Now, because of I believe it was the node that caused me to bleed on contact, I gained that extra 5 charges right away, so it really made that fight even faster. What was that, 11 seconds or something like that? It was just absolutely ridiculous. And again, this one here, same sort of idea. The only thing that this node has on it for memory was, I believe, like explosive personality or best defense. So really nothing to worry about when you're going into full nuke mode. So again, start with the advanced power boost, and then get to the 20 charges, parry, throw the SP2, fight is over. As you can see, here we go, get to the 16, 17, so a little longer than the last one, again, because there was no bleed effect that caused her to be immune right away. There's the 20, throw the SP2, and the fight is now over. So on the following fight, I end up taking an Ultron on node 50, which has Safeguard and Vigorous Assault. But basically, once Nebula has 10... Oh, actually, basically, Nebula shuts down this node completely, especially when playing against a robot. When facing robots starting with 10 charges, it basically turns off immediately because of the accuracy reduction, which I believe is, 20... I believe it's 20% per charge. So even at 5 charges, it shuts it down completely. In this case, getting 11, 12, up to the 20... I'm not looking to do the same kind of strategy as before. My strategy here is basically to push to an SP3 for the weapon overcharge passive that lasts, I believe it's about 25 seconds. That gives me a 75% chance of landing a shock on contact, basically to do a little bit of extra damage. Now, fortunately, because Safeguard is basically not in effect here, I can play it regularly as if just pay attention to the evade, not take any hits to the face, and then just throw the SP3s, like I said. So it's a pretty straightforward fight. Watch the evade time, punish the S1. And on this one, I didn't end up using an invulnerability. Sorry, I didn't use an APB. I ended up using an invul boost just to be safe in case for whatever reason I wasn't paying attention or I lost something where an unfortunate mishap would happen, whether a dex comes up or I end up hitting into an evade charge, which comes back and punishes with me. So I think in this case it ended up happening, so I was happy to have it on me. For the most part, the damage I was taking was mostly from block. And one of the things where I was talking about shutting down the node was in this one, anytime a regen was supposed to be prompted by, let's say, the opponent, the Ultron in this case, he was supposed to be unblockable for a large portion of the fight. So again, that was a pleasant surprise to not see that little cursor come up at the top, or that icon. So it made it just that much easier. So again, a very straightforward fight here. A little bit longer, but again, that was because I was trying to play it extremely safe and just punish the S1 as much as possible. And the reason also why we couldn't necessarily do the 20 shock nuke is also because Ultron, anytime he gets a shock on him, he loses it very quickly. So by the time you put the shocks on him and then throw the SP2, it'll basically have done no damage. So anyways, with the exception of that little slip up that you saw there, thankfully I had the invulnerability boost on, so it didn't cost me, and the fight was done. So a much longer one to talk about compared to the first three. And then the final one we're up going to take is this Warlock on Brute Force. On this one here, it has Limber, Hard Knock Life, Best Defense. No issue as the fight is over. Basically, it has a chance for any of the issues to pile on. Even at this point, I just, as the Brute Force was kicking in and I started degenning, my strategy was, again, to get to 20 charges as fast as possible with the Advanced Power Boost. Parry him, and then throw the SP2 and nuke him. So I know at this point a lot of boosts are being changed and this and that back and forth, but as you'll see when the fight is about to start, that it won't last very, very long at all. So it's always this team is now the second time I've taken this group of champs into the wars, and honestly, every time I'm overthinking and thinking it's going to be way more complicated, but it's really not, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, get the shocks up, there you go, there's the SP2, and all of a sudden just watch them melt and the fight's over. So it's just, yeah, again, for me, another clean war. That was, 5 fights this time, and probably my total fight time was under a minute if you take out the Ultron fight. So all in all, I was pretty happy. Our battle group also performed very well. We pulled up the 164. We ended up tying them. But in the war itself, they only died twice, which was incredible. And they had done it much. Like, the war was basically over before I even took my fights, which is why in some of them I didn't boost up very heavily. So anyway, that's all for this war. Unfortunately, we're still in a good position for Masters, and we'll continue fighting for it. So until next time, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.